At my alma mater. This is where I went to college. Check it out. So this is the cannon, so people can officially, unofficially paint the cannon.
Yeah, I see that.
For whatever cause,
I
and
see
then
that.
kind of
And
you got to
occasionally the
guard it
trees.
all night. Yeah, this is all
Yeah.
expanded. It didn't used to be along
The chapel's beautiful.
the curb and everything.
There's a Buddhist monk giving a teaching in there.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah,
how
it's-
awesome.
They were starting the meditation, so I left.
Oh, you can stay if you want. You can take time. That's pretty cool. So, yeah, I went here. Let's see, I graduated class of '09. I had my degree in sociology. Studied a lot of psychology as well. And this is like the upper quad, very New England campusy. And it's really beautiful. There's the view of Boston out the other way, kind of over the college. You can kind of see over there. And yeah, I chose this school. I applied early as the only one that I applied to. I was really fortunate that things aligned so that I was able to do that. But I also really did that because there was a huge amount of pressure. I was at a very intense high school at that time, and there was so much pressure on us. And it was like this big comparison game of like, who's gonna get in where? And I just didn't want to play it. So I picked this school because it was in the Boston area, which is where I wanted to be. And there's a focus on global citizenship and diversity. So that's really, I was like, all right, I'm sold, let's do it. And was really blessed that it worked out. And it was a good experience. Yeah, it was a very, diverse in name, but there are a lot of like self-segregation that actually happened on campus. One of my on-campus jobs, actually, look at this beautiful tree. Wow, amazing. One of my on-campus jobs was working as on the bias intervention team. So I was basically like a liaison between the student body and the administration when it came to topics of diversity. And so when something unfortunately would happen on campus that was offensive to a certain population, we would go out of our way to like put on some kind of event or lecture or learning opportunity or discussion or skit, just to bring awareness to that topic, where it happened and then in other places around the university. And we would kind of work with the administration on if they wanted to publish anything, a statement about it, and just to really understand and kind of report back like how it was rippling through the student body and how it affected them. So that was cool. I was an active member of the Association of Latin American Students, and I lived for a year in La Casa Latina, which was a Latino culture focused house where you could stay, like your residency, and then worked for that organization for a few years, and also in the Latino Center, spent time there. So I really was sort of digging into that cultural identity while I was here. And yeah, what else? I mean, I definitely partied. Did my share of partying when I was an undergrad. And so that was just a different reality, thinking back to who I was like 12 years ago, walking around here. So, uh-oh, squirrel. Puppy chasing squirrel. Sorry. Wakpa. Wakpa. Hey. Hey, you do not do that. You do not do that. Sorry. Gotta. But yeah, so what else? I kind of learned to dance. I hadn't really danced before coming to college, and really kind of leaned into that. That was new for me and challenging. Thanks to my friends who kind of taught me a little bit about movement. And it was good, I mean, it definitely, it's a private university, and it reflected that population. So it was kind of an ongoing struggle to really address intersectionality and people of different identities and different backgrounds. There's institutional racism here, just as everywhere. I actually did my undergraduate thesis on interviewing and researching Black and Latino men who came here from underprivileged backgrounds. So as in the sociological lens, there was all these different factors stacked against these guys for even getting to college. And so they had, right? These guys had overcome all these sociological barriers to get themselves to this private college. And yet what was heartbreaking was that they weren't graduating, not all of them. And so there was a higher rate of the people from that background not completing than from other backgrounds. So I said, what's the good of getting here if they're not getting through and they're not getting that degree? So I'm really grateful to the guys who allowed me to speak with them and learn about their experience. And, you know, of course, what I found, which wasn't super surprising, was that the number one reason that people would leave was related to financial demands and financial inequality, and people got kind of screwed over by, you know, the financial aid office or scholarships that didn't, you know, end up covering as much as they were supposed to. And then things like books on campus were like $800 a semester sometimes, and then food. So it really, you know, even if you got a scholarship to cover your tuition, you had to be working really hard as well as being a student to kind of make ends meet. And then the other reason that I found that some of these, men of color from that more urban background, that they weren't graduating, was because culturally it's very different. And so like the people who represent the school at that point, like the administration and the professors, like they sort of came from a different background than what these guys were familiar with at that point in time, as, you know, adolescents. And so there was sort of like this sense of, you know, well, no one's really gonna look out for me, or like they said this didn't work or this didn't go through, and so, oh well, like they don't really want me here. Like, just, you know, one of the guys was like, I had to convince myself that this place is a business and I'm a product, and, you know, if I'm not like a varsity athlete or an A student, they're not gonna want me here. And that was heartbreaking. So I'm going to dig up that paper and make it available on my website, because I'd love to have people have access to that. And now there's actually a really cool movement that started since I was an undergrad called First Gen, for people that are first generation coming to college, and that it is set up as like a mentorship to kind of like help people navigate these logistics around these institutions of like how to, you know, even the financial aid office says this or that, what questions you can ask, like kind of, you know, if you don't know what you don't know, it's hard to know and find out. So that's a cool movement, First Gen, to kind of share knowledge and a social support network with people whose parents might not be as familiar with the college process. And that's really important that you know, that be available as a support system. And all of that was in honor of a good friend of mine who was really screwed over, you know, like the second year. He's from the Boston area, came here on a scholarship, decided to come here over other places. Oh God. Because he had, you know, he wanted to be a math teacher, and that was really beautiful ambition, and yet he actually like ended up being like told that he had not paid the fees, and then when he left to go work full time and he tried to come back, they were like, actually no, you failed out and so you can't come back. It was awful. It was heartbreaking. I was so angry at like the system and the school and everything, and you know, so that's what inspired me to write that paper. Kind of told that story backwards, but so yeah, anyway, it was a good time. I had a good time here in college. You know, I don't think that I did open up and explore as much as other people in their sort of college years, you know. I did in some ways, but I've just, you know, I really think I've opened up a lot more in later years. And yeah, my group of friends was sort of like the token, like, diverse group. A lot of the other groups really did self-segregate, or, you know, I don't know if that's the best word for it anymore, but, you know, end up having social circles that were people more like themselves. And so even though we were all here on the same campus, we weren't really interacting as much to like learn about each other. And so I think that was something I always wanted to see more of. Some great professors, some great classes. I studied Spanish here, I studied Arabic here, I studied let's see, like psychology, history, a lot of, international relations. Yeah, this school's it's been a while. It's really known for that. Actually, their graduate school is one of the top for international relations. And so I studied a little bit of that, but I wasn't as into the diplomacy side of things. And for psychology, I wasn't as interested in the neuroscience, so I didn't double major, but now I'm much more interested in that. But yeah, had some really good times here. I took my first yoga class here, my last semester, senior year. I just wanted to be somewhere that I didn't have homework. But then that was, you know, has been a really powerful tool for me moving on. And what else? There were requirements here, so I remember I had to do this math class that I like really didn't want to do, and it was like obviously all the people who didn't want to sit through this math class, and the guy made it like daily quizzes. It was so obnoxious. I'm pretty sure he created the material in the class, like he just made up the topic in his head, but we had to get that math credit. So I always kind of wondered about the schools where you don't have to, you know, check off any boxes, you really just take what you want to take. But yeah, it's just interesting to reflect. I wasn't very physically active. Like I didn't play sports that much. I wasn't really doing a whole lot in that sense here besides dancing and a lot of extracurricular groups, but it was fun. You know, I had a great group of friends and we shared a lot of good times growing up here. And thanks for listening. How do I turn this off?